ருசிக பரலோக சுவையின்ப இயேசுவே என் வாழ்வின் திவ்யமிர்தமே இன்னும் இன்னும் வேண்டும் என்று கெஞ்சுதே உள்ளமே உன் நினைவால் என் இதயம் ஏங்குதே வல்லாய்.
A very good evening to all of you. We welcome all the viewers and subscribers of Melky TV channel and especially viewers of Pen Mic and Swords book review program. And it has been really a very beneficial and very useful for all the readers who don't have time to read a book, but at least they will know the content of a book so that they may get interested to read the book which we are reviewing in our platform. So we have completed so far 5 episodes and this is our 6th episode. And we are very glad that today our presenter is Sister Elizabeth Johnson. The sister is familiar to all of us. The sister brings the best review and she makes the most complex of books and she simplifies things for it. So lay people like us can understand it much better. So today the book which she's going to present is called Quantum Physics by Josh Peck. We all are interested to know how God, the Supreme Being, has created such a vast universe. So we are just a speck in this universe and a human being through the scientific knowledge, they're trying to find out and doing a lot of research about the universe and what is it is all about and why it's so vast and what's is happening over there. But yet they cannot say it for sure. This is how it is. This is how it is. Because God, our God is a mysterious God and what he wants to keep as a mystery, he will definitely keep as a mystery to human beings. What he wants to reveal, only that can be revealed. So that is the speciality and that is the difference why he is a God and we are his creation. So this book is all about nowadays science is getting a upper hand in today's modern world of science and technology, and now we are in the world of information technology, and the next world which we are nowadays going through the phase is called AI, the world of artificial intelligence. So where God has no place and where whatever science says people believe that only. So in such a context, as a Christian, as a saved believer of God, if you are more interested in science and if you want to know a lot of things which the science want to say, how can you go side by side? Can a scientist, can he accept his scientific theories also and at the same time not allow his theological stand to back up? So how the both can be combined? So I think the author wants to do such a work through this book, and only when we can get to know the review from Sister Elizabeth Johnson, we will know the content of the book. So Sister is involved in a lot of ministries. First of all, Sister was settled in India. She has done a lot of ministries in Chennai, and now she is settled in the US and she is doing a lot of good works for the Lord, and she is serving as a chaplain in a church, and she is also involved in a lot of ministries. So we thank Sister for taking a precious time to be in our program and present this book to us. So without further delay, I would like to hand over the podium to Sister to give a presentation. Please, Sister.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, good morning, wherever you come from, different parts of the world. So this book is written by author Josh Peck. Josh Peck has written innumerable books, and he also has an online ministry. And most of the time, he really deals with end time stuff, eschatology, quantum physics, Nephilim, prophecies. Those are the issues with which he is very involved in. He comes from a New Age background. So I think he was involved in astral projections, all kinds of New Age practices. And therefore, he really has interest to kind of bring that in with Christianity and say what is right, what is wrong, where does the word of God lead us, and how to look at it, and what we can see about quantum physics and about the universe and about creation, and how the word of God has got more answers for us. So he writes like this about himself. I'm a Christian researcher and with a passion for biblical prophecy. My mission is to wake up the church to the reality of the Bible, separate biblical truth from church tradition, and provide solid, raw, uncut truth of God's word to all who would listen. Okay. Then he, in this book, the books, when the author writes a book, he has a particular destination, particular aspect for which he is pronouncing it. So he says, quantum creation, does the supernatural lurk in the fourth dimension? And it has to do with quantum physics theories like strings, brands, multiple dimension, parallel universe, time warps, quantum entanglements, extra dimensional beings. Do they all have a place in biblical description of God's creation? Learn how science and religion are compatible, and reality is examined with quantum levels. Things are scientifically and biblically, they are able to be coming together. Science and Bible can come together. Okay. What I want us to know is God is the creator of the whole universe. So there is nothing in God's creation that can go against his word. In the sense, the laws of the universe, whether human beings understand it or not, are created by God, ordained by God. The universe is made by God. He knows the laws. He knows everything about the whole universe and the multi-universe and the cosmos and everything else that is going around. He knows everything. He makes everything, and he writes the laws into us. So the author comes in and says, God is the creator. So let us look at it and see what we can see about it with regard to how people perceive quantum mechanics, quantum physics, and also the occult ideas that come out of quantum physics and what we can think about. And the author has his own take. Now, the author comes from a lot of reading from the book of Jasher and the book of Enoch. For Protestant theology, we do not really recommend the book of Jasher or the book of Enoch. Those are not part of our biblical books. Now, I'm not saying we will go to hell if we read those books, but those are rejected books. Those are not apocrypha or pseudo-apocrypha. Those are rejected books. Yet many of the people are basing their theology out of these. Now, they may have some information that is okay, but certain times the Christology is not necessarily very biblical coming from these books. So I want to give that warning there as we enter into this. So the introduction is that how can we have science and God's creation and the biblical truths come together? And when we look at the Big Bang, can whole of creation or whole of the universe come from nothing? So the Big Bang people want to have an answer like this. They say the smallest particle like you can think of, if you put a dot on an atom, and the atom is like a universe, and the particle is like a dot in the universe, and it has an inverse gravity, and it burst up, and it became a finite universe. And then that finite universe in 14 or 13.9 billion years became an expanding and a continuing to expand and an infinite universe. So you can think about it. And I'm like, no way, Jose, I'm not buying that. But that's the Big Bang Theory. And I don't know how sane people can buy that, but that's quantum physics is that. Quantum physics theories are just like that. Those are theories. But many people believe in that. How can something come out of something else? So whereas we know that the existence is that God created all things. For him, by him, through him, by his word, all things came to being. Now, the basics of quantum mechanics is basically light, electromagnet, gravity, particles. Those are the things that they are dealing with. And we know God made everything. God said first, let there be light. And a light has a lot to do with quantum mechanics. Now, the quantum mechanics is more of a scientific part of this quantum physics, where you look at it and you have all kinds of mechanical, atomic, all kinds of stuff that we can practically use. So those are more scientific facts. But out of that, they quadruple from that and take off. They take something from the quantum mechanics and take it and put it into the universe and then come up with their own theories. Okay, in quantum mechanics, if you look at it, um, an experiment was done. Let's say there was a source of light, one single point of light. Then they had a screen where they had two holes. So there were the light could be split and going into two different places. Then there was a screen. And when they wanted to see how the light was transmitted, what were the points that were coming out. And they saw that light was traveling in waves. And then in the second place, again, it was traveling in waves and it was projected onto the screen. So they said light is traveling in and it is traveling in waves. And we also see particles, and the particles are not straight lines. The particles are all over, like it'll come in here, in here, in here, and in between there will be spaces. And they saw that each particle was very small. So there was waves as well as particles. So you have waves and particles. That is from photons, like particles of light. So that is one theory. And so that's like a quantum mechanics theory. And then you have matter and energy and speed of light that Einstein came up with and Newton came up with. And then Einstein says general relativity, what happens is when you come across a big source of energy like the sun, then light will bend because you have electromagnetic. So that's a relative theory, general relative theory. So the gravity pull or the energy theory, and then you have the general relativity. So these are all quantum mechanics, and somebody can probably explain it better or we can learn it better. I'm just trying to explain it in simple terms, and I might be not exactly right about it. But some simple concepts like that, out of which we do so much of advancement in physics, so much of theories, so much of computers, so many things come out of these simple theories. But from that, you have the probability that this particle can fall in any place. It can fall in a wave, and the wave can have a length. So out of that, they take the idea that you can be in two different places. The particle can exist in many different places. So human beings can exist in many different places. Okay, I mean, or the universe can be parallel in many areas. I mean, there are lots of theories as we go through it and see it. We will see that quantum physics comes up with a lot of theories, and most of it is like they're trying to grapple with what is existence, how is the universe. When the universe first was thought to exist, they only knew about a small little place, and then they found out as we travel, we found out you have Rome, you have Spain, you have India, you have the Far East. So now we know all the places on the earth. Then we saw only the moon, then we saw only the sun, then we only saw our Milky Way. Then afterwards, we are getting to know more of, oh, there are Andromeda, there are other universes over there. And then we say, oh, there are other universes. And we can see billions of universes. So this, till the end of all that we can see, that will be called like a multiverse. And then there are billions of multiverses in the world. And then they also say, well, there is black energy. And so the multiverses might be the ones that we cannot see. Soon we might not see them at all because the black energy might just make them go away. And then new energies, new universes will be formed, new stars will be coming up. So these are all things that in some ways it's scientific because it's something that we do observe. In some ways, it's also speculative. We're trying to grapple with what is the universe. And many times this quantum physics is going into occultic areas, or they use non-biblical sources. For example, they take from Hindu sources and say the world is cyclical, the universe is cyclical. So then if it's cyclical and if it's just like a wheel that is turning around, which most of us would be aware of from Hindu theories, Hindu philosophy, the cycle of life and so on. But if the universe is cyclical, then how does it get renewed again? Because entropy sets in. So if you are going to have something come out of something and a universe is formed and the universe is expanding, sorry, the universe is expanding, but entropy will set in. So if it becomes nothing and then again it has to start and again it has to renew, certain what shall I say, impossibilities are there, certain restrictions are there. So every theory that it comes up with, there are certain restrictions. So the theory of inflation is that from nothing, from one dot of 10th to minus 43 or whatever, one dot has created the whole universe, a finite universe, and then a multiverse, and then expanding universe, if we can believe such things. So it's a theory of inflation, like it inflated, like they say how bubbles come out, bubbles upon bubbles upon bubbles upon bubbles. So that is one idea. Some of it I'm just trying to explain quantum mechanics and quantum physics, and a lot of you might know it better, but I'm just trying to make it simple as we go through it, as what this author is basing his book on. So he comes up with, actually, let me go back. So he thinks of first dimension and second dimension. If you think of first dimension and second dimension, think of in space, take a piece of paper, and when you look at it, you think of x-axis and y-axis. So that is two dimension. Then when you think of space, that is third dimension. When you think of time, that is fourth dimension. Generally the temporal dimension. So that is how quantum physics thinks of. But this author wants to think about the fourth dimension as the spiritual dimension. And he brings in the Bible as, in the beginning, like, when there was war in heaven, Satan and his angels were cast out. And it says they are chained. But at the same time, they had access to go up to God. They had access to come into the earth. So they are in some place which he thinks of as fourth dimension, like a spiritual dimension. But why he wants to say a fallen angel world's spiritual dimension, I don't know, because not only the fallen angels or the spirits can come to the earth, God also intervenes and comes to us. God is always coming to us. Angels of God are coming to us. So why he wants to keep the fourth dimension as the fallen world dimension, I don't know. But many books have written about the second heaven being the place of the fallen angels, the Satan and his hosts, and whatever kind of principalities are over there. So I think he follows up. Like I said, a lot of doctrine is coming from the book of Jasher or the book of Enoch, which Protestant theology has rejected. Only I think Egyptian Old Testament people those who were living in Egypt or those in Ethiopia, only those have ever embraced those books. Everybody else has rejected it. It's not in Apocrypha. It's not in Pseudo-Apocrypha. This is away from that. There are also other Gnostic books, out of which come a lot of quantum physics. And he deals with it, and he warns us, and he tells us how it differs and how we can use the same words, but it really means something else. Okay, so the fallen angels come to us, but also God comes to us. So God can interact in the physical realm of the three-dimensional space that we have, or maybe the four-dimensional space that we have, God comes to us supernaturally. But the author calls the fourth dimension as the supernatural dimension, particularly for the fallen angels. Okay. And then he talks to us a lot about the Gnostic faith. Now, the Gnostic faith seems very similar to Hindu faith, also using Christian jargon because it's developed in the West. But it comes from New Age philosophy, which is coming from the East as well. For example, the Bible, we talk about one creator God, Yahweh, one creator God, who is above all, has no equal, and he created out of his word, and Jesus Christ, the second person of the Trinity, and the Holy Spirit created the whole universe. And he is the only God. So we are monotheists. But the New Age and quantum physics, they deal with a pantheon, or the Gnostics deal with a pantheon of God. First, they say there was a true light or true God that existed. And when they say true God of true God, true light of true light, we think about the creeds that we recite. True God of true God, true light. That speaks to our Christian heritage, where we think he's talking about, these people are really talking about true God and true light, but they're not talking about true God and true light. They're talking about an impersonal force that existed. This is the Gnostic faith. And then this impersonal force, according to the Gnostics, created eons. Now, the eons I thought were ages, but the eons are like demigods. And Yahweh they consider as one of the demigods. And Jesus and Holy Spirit and Sophia and Logos, all of these are demigods. But the demiurge, which is Yahweh, so they say, which is very, very insulting, that they call God the creator as a selfish, foolish demiurge that created, and he wanted humanity to be slaves. But Sophia went in and gave them a spark of divinity. And then there was chaos, and Jesus Christos had to come in, and they had to have a relationship with Sophia and produce mankind, and not do it by her own self. So this is just crap. Really, this is crap. But that's the Gnostic faith. And you also realize this is coming from an Eastern pantheonic or a Greek pantheonic mindset, where they think, Param Brahma, then a lot of emanations, and then all kinds of physical interactions between the gods, and then you have the universe coming up and all sorts of things. So this is very much Hinduism or Greek mythology, but packaged in Christian terms. So if we didn't know that, we will be saying, Jesus is the face of the eternal God. Well, they use that face of the faceless, form of the formless, image of the one without image, one without form. So they're speaking in Gnostic terms, but we can think of it in Christian terms. So the author wants us, their ideas are totally different. They talk about Christ consciousness, where you meditate and you become a Christ, or you become a demigod, and you attain your salvation. And coming from India, most of us will understand this concept because we've grown up with Hindu, ideas that we can understand these concepts. But these are coming in Christian terminology in the Gnostics, because the Greeks had these kind of ideas, and they kind of wanted to take away from Christology, from the God who is come in flesh and the eternal God. And you can see the rebellion, because they wanted to call Yahweh as a demiurge that's selfish, that makes man slaves. So you can see the rebellion and the hatred that comes out of that. So then that is what he has been involved in New Age philosophy. So that's a good chapter, because I was in seminary, and I was really talking to people who were seminarians. This was a very liberal seminary, and they were talking about traveling astrally. They're traveling from their house and they're going in their spirits. And I'm like wondering what, yes, sometimes I feel the consciousness of God. What in the world are these people talking? Now I know, hey, this is New Age. Just run away from such things, don't even get involved, or explain and testify to them. So some amount of these kind of knowledge is necessary for us. And he talks about that. And so we are not saved by meditation, we are saved by grace, and we are saved by Christ. Okay, so there are 5 dimensions. The second chapter is 5 dimension. That is 3 plus 1. According to quantum physics, is that you have three dimension, right, in space. That is, you have the x-axis, the y-axis, and then you have the 3 dimension, then you have time. So if you want to say anything else, another universe coming in, a parallel universe coming in, then it's the 5th dimension. And they even go up to 10th dimension. Okay, if you want to visualize the 4th dimension, this is what there are some examples. Like when I was doing art classes, we would take paper and we would cut it in such a way that we will make boxes out of it. So from a 2-dimensional paper, you wrap it up in such a way, you make cubes, you make spheres, you make triangular, pyramid shapes, you make cylinders. You can make any 3-dimensional shape using 2-dimension. So when you make a cube, it's basically, if you want to fill the cube, you can fill it with 2-dimensional papers. You can just put paper after paper after paper after paper. So they say, if you want to think about the 4th dimension or another universe, think about like a paper that is one on top of the other on top of the other. So one universe, another universe, another universe, another universe put together. But we are not able to go from one universe to the other. So these are all having to do with finding black holes, finding avenues to do time travel, to find parallel universe. So man again is, if we understand their desire is, they are not accepting God. They're not accepting a biblical worldview. They're not accepting this. So they want to explore the world and they want to go and find out if there is life outside and how we can go from place to place, time travel, and who will come in. So there's another concept is extraterrestrial and interplanetary, which most people talk of as ET, extraterrestrial people, and also people who do interplanetary travel. Versus, according to the author, he says, let's do other dimensional, 4th dimensional people, or people from supernatural who can come in. Not extraterrestrial, but extra dimensional people. In other words, spiritual beings who can intervene. So just like if I have a 2-dimensional paper, I can anytime put my hand into it. And there can be many, many 2-dimensional universes around, and a 3-dimensional person can come in at any time. So he is saying basically is they don't necessarily have to travel like 10 billion light years to come into our space. The 4th dimension or the spiritual dimension can break into our universe very easily. And the same concept holds for many universes. In quantum physics, they say one universe, another universe. They don't necessarily have to travel through billions of years with technology to come to us. There will be little holes. There will be little openings. And I guess they're still looking to, where is the gateway of gods? Where is the place where we can come through from one universe to the other universe? Now, I did talk about multiverse. So they're saying multiverse, since we have billions and billions and billions and billions of multiverses around, then if you toss a coin, there will be yes or no. So like that, you can say that out of all these billions of multiverses, there can be parallel universes. So there can be another sister you, another sister there, another me somewhere sitting there and talking. They can do the same over there. Why? Why is it happening? Just because. Why not? There's a chance. How can we prove it is not? That kind of speculation is what is quantum physics. It is just pure speculation. So there is a multiverse. So that's a theory. That's again, these are all theories. It's not necessarily science per se. These are theories that come out of some kind of a scientific facts of quantum mechanics, but it's extrapolated into quantum physics of universe and theories. Now we do see that the universe is very big, and not only our Milky Way, but we do have a multiverse. And there are probably millions and billions of multiverses. Those are observable facts. But beyond that, and there are really serious people that he has interviewed with, and they say one of the guys that he interviewed with, he has said that he's a quantum physicist and he is trying to make a time machine. He's trying to make a time machine not to send people over, but to send particles. So you cannot go backward in time, but you can go at a very fast speed. So if you go at a very fast speed, so you are going at such a fast speed, you age only like 2-3 years, whereas other people in the earth are aging about 20 years because you're going at a very fast speed. So it's like a reversal of time or a cutting short of time. So you have done 2 years, whereas others have gone like 20 years. They've aged so much. And then they say, like you keep tossing coins around, sometimes you can live infinitely. Why? You might die in one universe, but there's a chance that you might not die in another universe. And since there are billions and billions of universes, there are so many chances, so you can keep living infinitely. I mean, you think about it and you're just like, what is this science fiction? And basically, it's kind of like quantum physics is like science fiction with a little bit of science thrown in. Okay, so anyway, let's go for it. Okay, visualizing fourth dimension. Okay, so if you take like a 3-dimensional cube, but let's say you have like 7 different cubes put together, but an earthquake happened and all of them became one cube, and you get inside of it and the stairs going up leads downstairs and you cannot get out. And then you go out through the window and you find you're in a desert. Once you get out, you find that the house is gone because it has slipped into another place in space. So it's like, it's science fiction. It's what if quantum physics is like science fiction. What is there in the universe? Since the universe is so unfathomable, since the universe is so expanding, since the universe is so infinite, there can't be any kind of possibilities. So it's an exploring mind to look at all kinds of possibilities. So also another 10-dimensional theory, which is actually a little bit scientific, is that when you look at galaxies, so let's say that's one universe, but then you look at planets, then you look at rocks and gases, then you look at molecules, then you look at atoms, then you look at electrons, and then you split the electrons. And then you go back into the very quantum, which is a very microscopic, 10 raised to minus 43 or so. That's the smallest that they have got. It's like a Planck measurement. And they have a Planck measurement, they have a Planck time, and they have a Planck energy that they have, that they are measuring the universe with. And so that is like anything in the universe can be measured. So those are all quantum mechanics, which has some amount of science to it, as opposed to quantum physics, which has some science and a lot of theories, a lot of speculation. And then other areas that we need to know, other terms is a tesseract. That is the cube that has fallen into itself. And a lot of quantum physics has occultic origins, occultic influences, occultic writings, occultic thinking in it. So that's why he says, why should occultic thinking be there? It is science. It is the universe. It is what God made. And therefore, let us look at the Bible and look at it in a biblical point of view and learn from it. This, after all, the quantum mechanics, after all, is what God has given, what God has written. And he also talks about the word. When God created the word, first he created light. So the light is existing, and that is very much part of quantum mechanics and quantum physics as well. And then he talks about how there is an M theory where something holds the whole universe together. And then the author talks about how when God spoke and created the world through the word of the Lord is eternal. It's not wrapped up in time and space. God is outside time and space, even though angels are inside time and space because angels were created. But God is outside time and space. His word is eternal. And therefore, his word is the one that is actually holding the whole universe. And we know, right? He holds the whole universe. He holds us. He holds all things. He governs all things. He sets everything into place. So again, real quantum science, if we have to look at it, is biblical. Science is not opposed to the Bible. In fact, the real science is biblical, whereas a lot of fluff comes out of quantum physics. The basics of 10-dimensional is Planck boundaries. That is 10 raised to 33. That is the Planck boundaries. And the scale of energy and the length. The length is 10 raised to 43 is the Planck length. That is what they measure. So they say you see a universe, you see houses, you see the earth. But when you look at it in quantum wise, you see particles that are so small, and particles and waves and people moving, like even you and I and all of us are made up of particles, atoms and molecules and stuff like that. So those are some of the issues with quantum mechanics and quantum physics. And the author also comes up and he says, well, Satan comes as an angel of life. And is it that when you see a cube from the second dimension, when you see a cube, you only see a stilted square? So when you see Satan, that we are not seeing clearly because we see things darkly, so he appears as an angel of light. So these are all speculations again. And then the author talks about 12. He says, like, there are 10 dimensions of the universe. He says, why not 12? Because God always used 12. And he postulates there are probably 12 dimensions to the universe because God is always using 10 tribes, 10 Old Testament elders, 10 New Testament apostles, 12 thrones. Everything is 12. 12 stones, 12 people, 12, everything is 12. So he says they're probably 12 dimensions because they postulated up to 10 dimensions, then they're going up to 11. And the author says, why not 12 dimensions to the universe? And that probably will be right because God is very bothered with numbers, and the 12 is a number that is often used. Okay, these are some things about pheromones. How much time do I have?
Sister, time is almost over. So if you have some other things to say, you can wind it up in some 5 minutes, sister.
Okay, so what is very important is he talks about Jehovah in the Old Testament. He talks about Trinity in the Old Testament. Trinity, Yahweh in the Old Testament. And we often know in the beginning was the Word. We always have that. Jesus was there, the Word was there, the Spirit was there. But he also uses Genesis 22:11 to 12. I know you have the fear of God and you did not withhold your son from me. So the angel of God comes and says, and Yahweh is talking. So he says many times there's theophany, that the second person of the Trinity was there in the Old Testament. Yahweh was there in the Old Testament. And the Lord said to my Lord, those are examples that he gives. I have set my angels. So he says the angel of the Lord could be an apparition of Jesus. I'm not sure about that, but you have to go and study whether it really is. I think it could be like the angel was sent and then the Lord also spoke. But many times Yahweh comes in. Deuteronomy 6:4, Hear, O Israel, the Lord thy God is one. We have the tetragram Yahweh. And then the Lord rained upon Sodom and Gomorrah fire and brimstone as from the Lord. So there are two as from God and the Lord reigned. So there are two Yahwehs mentioned there. And Amos says, other than I have overthrown some as God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, yet you have not returned to me. So it's like the first person and the second person of the Trinity are right there in the Old Testament. And the same thing when God was speaking to Gideon, the first and the second person of the Trinity are there. And then the Spirit of God is also there. Okay. I think I shall I shall close with that, because I can go on and on and on and on. But I think maybe we can say this is fine for now. What my thoughts after reading the book was very frustrating. The book was very difficult. What I did was I went ahead and looked at YouTube's and tried to know what are the basics of quantum mechanics, what are the basics of quantum physics. After I did that, and then I read this book, then things started becoming clearer, because it was an unknown field for me, unknown ideas, unknown terms, and it was very difficult to understand in the beginning. But after I just kind of simply went through a few simple, there are some simple ways of explaining quantum mechanics and quantum physics. After I went through that and I looked at that, it was easy to see. Now, is this book a necessary book to study? I think for some people, it may be necessary. And since information is so much out there in the world, if people are interested to study, interested to use it for apologetics, interested to see that science is not contradicting scripture and that we don't have a foundation to stand, I think for people like that, this is a good book, because the Bible has more science and true science than anything out there. So it's a good book. It's a good introductory book, but you do need to do some research. And the author maybe he's at the edge of eschatology and the fringe edges of Christianity, he says. But still, I think he gives some good ideas. Don't take every book that you read as gospel truth. Go back to the Bible and read. Take what is good from it and challenge ideas. But the author does give good feedback, and he has taken a lot of pains to write this book. So thank you all very much for listening, and I hope it's of some use to you. Thank you.
Thank you, sister. Thank you so much. So this book was indeed a very difficult book for a non-physics student. So most of us who are not from the field of science, they will really find it very, very, very difficult. But those who are interested in studying about the universe and who wanted to know more about what's going on the field of science regarding the universe, what has been found out, they will find it really very interesting. So, what I would like to say simply is the author is talking about the four dimension. So he should connect more about the supernatural, that is God. That in God everything has been created. So whatever in science is telling, this already mentioned in the Bible. So as sister told, so Bible is the best book where we can get all the principles of science. Only through Bible, these findings are being based upon biblical truths only. All this has been found out, and this the scientist people are, hey, we have found this thing, we have found this theory, we have found this concept. That is how the world of science is going on. So as a Christian, we are able to understand it, connect to it very easily. So we are living in this planet called Earth. So God has given us a stewardship to take care of our planet, so that we may live a good life here. And God has made such a beautiful atmosphere for us. But what we have done, we have gone in a wrong direction. So we are going in a corporate way. We are doing a lot of business things, lot of pollution. The world is getting polluted like anything. So what the scientists are trying to find, they're going to find out another planet which is inhabitable, where they can take the best of the human beings, not human beings. I would like to stress that best of the human beings in the sense those who can afford it, the rich and the super powerful, and they are creating a spaceship like a time machine sort of thing. And everyone knows about Elon Musk, and he is doing exactly the same thing where they can deport people from here. So what we can do is we can make our own planet beautiful, and we can know about the Bible, the biblical principles. So God was the first, as sister told, in creation. God was the first one who has mentioned about the light. Everything has been written in this Bible only. So those who are interested in universe and all those things, and as an apologetic, you can go for this book. But I think personally for me, as a host of this book, it's a big no for me. This book is because there might be a lot of, I think, physical formulas and everything. So that we all learned in some ninth and tenth, and it's been more than 30 years, and it's a Herculean task. So we have now Sangeeta sister. So Sangeeta sister was having some network issues. So I'm really interested to hear Sangeeta sister's feedback because she's a CBSE school teacher, and I think she's an English teacher. So most of the students might be having doubts, and she must have good knowledge about physics. Let's see what sister want to say about this book. Sister, please.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak about this topic. Sister has very nicely in this book that is Quantum Creation by Josh Peck. Very nicely, she has explained the difference between that is about Big Bang Theory. Initially, she said about okay, and then in the Big Bang Theory, how the smallest particle, how the quantum physics. Many people believe in that Big Bang Theory. Okay, and then after that, now we as Christians we believe in God. Okay, we believe that Christ has created this beautiful world. Okay, but in quantum mechanics, like sister said, like there is source of light, there are two poles. Okay, and then there are then after that about the relative theory, then about the existence, then about the black energy, then she said about the dimensions, then about the fourth dimension that is supernatural. Okay, very nicely she has explained it. So according to me, what it is that in conclusion, what I would like to tell is that we as Christians we have to believe that Christ has created this beautiful world, everything, sun, moon, stars, everything by His creation only, by His like He has. We believe in supernatural power. He is so powerful that he has created everything, but many of them are not aware of it. Okay, and many people believe in Big Bang Theory. Children also, many children, they don't, they generally people in that is in science, but actually we have to tell them that this is not the truth. God has created this beautiful world, and we have to believe in God. Thank you.
Say also is that I never bothered with any science like this. I have my faith. You guys, believe in any rubbish. But after going through this book, and this book was very confusing, but after finding out some basics and then going through it, I really thought, you know what, we need to do more knowledge of what is out there so that we can tell our children. Our children will think, oh, you people are old fashioned, you don't know anything. And we also may think, oh, this is too hard to understand. But in reality, when we look at it in a simple term, they have just taken simple terms and made all kinds of rubbish. Instead of saying from one, it is just gone, they will show one measurement from A to B. Then they will talk about 10,000, 10 billion years, or all those kind of rubbish. So we have to also know science, and we have to know what is what the terms are, what the theories are, so that we can explain to them and we can ration with them. And I think it is not so difficult to understand. I never thought, who wants to know about quantum physics? I never wanted to know, except that I had to do this book review. I would have never read. But having read it, and then I think, why are these people really making such a big thing about themselves? What is it that they are saying? And how is it that we, as rational, just ordinary, intelligent people, can actually understand and argue with them? It's not like something we cannot understand. It is not out there that it's like, it is so hard for us to understand or grapple with. So why are we not getting involved, not necessarily of embracing it, but of knowing about it? So in one way, though, I was like, why in the world did I do this study? In some way, I thought, yeah, it is encouraging for us Christians to get into every arena and to say, these are the what is false, this is what is truth, and we know about both. We are not ignorant. You know?
Thank you, sister. Thank you. Sister has given a very nice conclusion. So that's what science is doing. They are taking simpler things, simpler concepts. For God must have created it in a very simpler way, but they create it in such a complex way so that only the intellectuals can understand. Layman cannot understand. And they are making fool of us. And we also think, oh, no, they are scientists. They know more than us, and we come into the trap, and we need to come outside the trap. So that's what I understood from this book when sister was telling a little particle from a little particle everything came. How is that possible, and why no single particle is creating something? We can reverse their theories back to them only, and they will not be having any answer. Many Christian scholars and biblical scholars they have done so many arguments and debates. You must have seen it in. There are not many videos where the scientists they have been smashed by biblical truths, and yet that is why they don't believe in Bible. They know whatever the Bible is saying is true, because if they accept the Bible, they have to accept that they are wrong, which they will not never let anyone to know. So that's what is happening. So let us be. We should be rational. We should be a child of God. We should be faithful, trust God. But at the same time, we should also be ready to answer our kids. As a sister said, if our kids are asking us some questions, it should not be that we think that, oh, I don't know this. Such a word should not come from our lips. We should be ready to give them the correct answer so that they will not be misled by this present secular education systems. So that's why we have to be very careful. Satan has so many traps around us, around our children, and for that we need to read such kind of books, and so that we may explain it to them from a biblical way. So thank you, sister. Thank you for taking your time and taking this beautiful way you had presented, although it might have been really very difficult. I don't know how many headaches you had before you finished the book, but yet you presented it very nicely. Thank you for Sangeeta, sister, that you also pointed that you connected it with the students, with the kids, so that how we should be as a parent. We should be well knowledgeable, well aware of what is going around us, well aware of the Bible, so that we can guide our children in the right direction. With that, we would like to wind the episode today. So the next episode, our seventh episode, the presenter would be Sister Sangeeta James, and Sangeeta James' sister would be presenting the book called Genesis Unborn by Christopher Smith. So we would like to hear a review in the coming days. So thank you, Sister Elizabeth Johnson, for your great presentation, and thank you, Sister Sangeeta, for joining us. Thank you. God bless you all. Have a nice day, and especially today our episode was all women episode. So women power. Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye. Bye.